This week on The Review, a new season of The Cure, Al Jazeera series on world health. We speak to one of its main presenters. Turkey, engaged in wars on two fronts, and the programs that stirred debate and discussion online. Hello and welcome to The Review, the show that goes behind the scenes at Al Jazeera, but also lets you do the talking. In its latest season, The Cure takes viewers on a journey to the frontiers of global health, revealing advances in medicine and breakthrough medical technology, plus telling the intimate stories of the people involved. Two stories in particular have been major hits with our audience, drawing over 350,000 views online. A treatment and rehabilitation clinic in Amman, Jordan, is the region's only specialist reconstructive surgery hospital for victims of war who have suffered severe and complex injuries. And Karachi's Sindh Institute of Urology and Transplantation has made free public health care a reality in Pakistan. We Skype with Dr. Javid Abdelmoneim, one of The Cure's main hosts, who presented these stories. He also happens to be a practicing physician of emergency medicine in London. Thanks so much for joining The Review.
Thank you for having me.
The two stories that you presented really captivated audiences. What really inspired you during your visits to the clinics in Jordan and Pakistan?
Good question. I think the most poignant thing really is, what stood out the most is that as a doctor, I met lots of clinicians, both in the SRUT in Karachi through Dr. Rizvi and all of his team, and the essentially Arabic doctors in the MSF clinic in Jordan are all, how can I put it? They're all working for the best of their own communities, so to speak. All of those doctors could just go off to America or Britain or Europe and or work privately in their local areas and make a lot of money and live very well. But they've made the active choice to provide this care for these people who are most in need, and the care is free. It's absolutely and utterly free for all those patients in both clinics, and I think it's incredible, and I think that's probably why it resonated so much.
You're a doctor, you see a lot, but what kind of injuries stood out to you the most or were most shocking to witness at the clinic in Jordan?
Yes, I have to admit, in terms of the injuries I saw, these are not injuries I would commonly see in the UK, where I practice in London. We have road traffic accidents, the odd shooting, the odd stabbing. So to see shrapnel or bombing associated injuries like that, for me, was one of the rarer occasions on which I've seen them. And of course, this is a specialized hospital, so the surgeons there select the cases that they know they can have the most benefit and the cases that they know they can handle. So there is a selection bias, obviously, for having that type of injury that we saw there. But nonetheless, yes, as we discussed, a shrapnel that slices through your throat, you won't survive at that moment. You will exsanguinate. A shrapnel that hits your brain, equally, you will not survive. So these patients are very lucky to be alive and have devastating injuries. They couldn't eat for a year at a time until they had, the full reconstructive surgery.
How would you compare the quality of care and medical facilities in the Pakistan clinic versus where you practice in the UK?
I have to admit, actually, in terms of the quality of care, I was very impressed. And, you might think that I could say that easily, but I've been into surgical projects. For this series, there's one coming up in Uganda, in other series as well. And I always notice, oh, we wouldn't have done it that way in England, or, oh, that isn't quite the best way of doing things. But actually, and really quite honestly and impressively, in SRUT during that transplant surgery in Pakistan, in Karachi, and also in the MSF project in Jordan, I couldn't pick at anything. There were things where even I remember once one of the anesthetic assistants just sort of degloved and washed his hands instantly. And I even remember saying, oh, even in England, some people wouldn't have done that, and that's very good. So, no, I was very impressed indeed.
Thanks, Javid.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
If you haven't already done so, make sure to catch these episodes of The Cure online. Also look out for the many other brand new installments which will run through the end of August. Now, Turkey has made headlines every day this week with military campaigns against ISIL in Syria and the Kurdish PKK in northern Iraq. Here's a look back at that news and other stories from around the globe.
Turkey is at war on two fronts. Its jets are now hitting targets across the border in Iraq and Syria. A day after beginning an air campaign against ISIL in Syria, Turkish jets for the first time in years began hitting PKK or Kurdistan Workers' Party positions in Iraq's Kandil Mountains.
President Barack Obama receives a rousing welcome from thousands of Kenyans who were invited to hear him speak in this arena.
Hoping their long campaign could soon be over, family members of those who disappeared from the sprawling Comuna 13 slum of Medellin gathered for a symbolic ceremony in this landfill known as La Escombrera. It marks the beginning of the exhumation of the country's largest mass grave.
He's the man many believed would succeed his father, Colonel Muammar Gaddafi, as leader of Libya. But after a guilty verdict, Saifar Islam now faces death by firing squad.
The United States says the latest reports of Afghan Taliban leader Mullah Omar's death are credible. The Afghan government announced on Tuesday that Omar died more than 2 years ago in a hospital in Karachi, but that's been denied by the Taliban.
On a tiny island in the Indian Ocean, this piece of what looks like a plane is getting a lot of attention. And aviation experts believe it could be part of MH370, which disappeared last year.
Two of this week's programs struck up quite the debate scene on social media, drawing in combination over 1,000 viewer comments. Al Jazeera's documentary, Living Beneath the Drones, is an urgent examination of the mental health blowback from living under the omnipresence of drones in Afghanistan. Here are two very different responses. Sean Wright posted on Facebook, Al Jazeera propaganda. Look at the facts. British drones are for reconnaissance only. But Pittman Warren commented on the accompanying online piece saying, very good article. I've never looked at it from that perspective. 101 East's Slaving Away exposes the dirty secrets behind Australia's fresh food industry and the widespread exploitation of its foreign workers. Miller and Miller 27 tweeted, "This is the latest installment in Al Jazeera's campaign to undermine the Australian government. I'm pretty sure illegal workers are exploited everywhere in the world." Neil Blanche wrote back via Facebook, "For those claiming this report is false, it's sadly true, as was revealed in the recent ABC expose. For those who say that things are worse in other countries, so what? Here are excerpts from these controversial films. Tell us what you think."
It's impossible to measure the true cost of war. It's not only the physical devastation caused by bombs and mortars. Survivors struggle with psychological damage that can last a lifetime. Afghanistan has been a battlefield for decades, generations shattered by endless conflicts. Around 3/4 of the population have mental health problems. And the latest weapon of war, the drones that constantly fly overhead, add to the sense of terror amongst the people here.
It's a 15-minute drive to the Bayada Adelaide chicken factory, where Kevin and Mo have laboured for the past 2 years. Up to 18 hours per day, 7 days a week. Secret camera footage has captured the reality inside the factory. A relentless pace, processing up to 47 chickens a minute. Workers say they aren't allowed to stop and drink water or even go to the toilet for hours on end.
就遇到就是有一个人，他就是比较常会想要尿尿，然后就不准他去上，到后面他真的尿到裤子上面了，非常夸张，非常夸张。
That's it from us today. Please make sure to visit our website and Facebook page where you can leave comments and questions about Al Jazeera's coverage. And if you keep your thoughts coming, maybe next time you can be on The Review.